once again, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining for another session of Azure Power Lunch. As you know, we record these calls and we place these recordings on our YouTube channel. So if you don't want to record it, you may want to drop off now. Second thing is that this call is joined by our Microsoft team members as well as our customers and partners. So with that, um, here is a quick overview of the topic. It's about Azure API Management, um, basic and standard V2, which has just gone into public preview. So very exciting topic, and let's quickly go on with it. Um, so here's a quick agenda. We're going to talk about what is API management, some of the inner workings like compute platform, because that will come in handy when we talk about these V2 version which have just gone into public preview. Then what is being offered as a part of V2, basic and standard SKU, we will talk about it. And of course, there will be demos, you know, in between. So first of all, what is Azure API Management? Azure API Management is a Microsoft first-party service which allows API, uh, which allow users to expose their APIs to external or internal consumers. This is one of the service that basically allow you to separate the API interface from its implementation. What I mean is that you may have an API that is kind of a legacy written as a SOAP API. You can expose it as a REST API. You may have an API that does not support OAuth, okay? But you want it to secure it through OAuth. You can use Azure API Management and do that. So it allows you to do that. So as I said, it's the provide that abstraction. It also provides an API developer portal where what you can do is, excuse me, you can um, uh, provide the list of your APIs there, and consumers can subscribe to it and so on. So all of that stuff is a part of API management. So let's quickly go further. So I just want to spend a few minutes on the compute platform. Um, the initially app service, API management was launched with the single tenant version one, which was the initial, or we can call it a legacy compute platform. It is still available in some region. The newer region only have these STV2 or 2.1. Okay, it has it's the 2.1 is the improvement on the top of STV2. Just keep in mind that you cannot migrate from V2 to 2.1. It's all internal. What are some of the things that comes as a part of the STV2 platform? These are advanced networking like private connectivity, okay, availability zone feature, protection with Azure DDoS, so enhanced feature, and it is available as a part of developer basic standard and premium platforms. Okay, so that these are some of the things that are made available as a part of this platform, and these two SKU that have just come about, basic V2 and standard V2, they're also a part of this STV2. And I will show you during the demo how you can see what what is the compute platform version of your API management instance. So any questions so far? Okay, so now let's talk about basic V2 and standard V2. First of all, both of these SKUs have an SLA. Okay, so that's a key thing to remember. Both, though basic is targeted more towards dev test or low load scenarios, and standard is targeted toward production scenario. Both allow auto scaling up to 10 instances, or both allow scaling up to 10 instances. So you can basically add more instances and go up to 10 instances of API management kind of scale units. So they can scale up to 10 scale units. And standard V2 has another networking option, and we will take a look at that in a second. Okay. And here is some more detail about it that you may want to know. And one of the key things that they addressed with this basic V2 and standard V2 is the speed with which you can deploy. I'm sure if you have deployed API management instances in the past, you know that it used to take at some point 1 hour, 45 minutes, and that's a long time when we are talking about cloud. And we will show you a demo. I mean, you can now spin an instance in a matter of minutes, and I'm talking about less than 5 minutes. So that's a big thing. Same thing about scaling. Before basic standard, you cannot increase the number of scale units, but now with basic and standard, you can scale up to 10 units. I think you can scale, sorry, let me say that again. With basic and standard V1, you can scale, but you cannot scale up to 10. But with basic and standard V2, you can scale up to 10 instances. So that's a big change. And just keep in mind that the developer portal is an add-on to basic, while in standard it's included. Okay. And let's take a look at the networking side of things. Okay. So if you are familiar with Azure API Management Premium instance, what you can do is, if you need connectivity, if you need to uh, the you need API management to access app services, you want to host app services which are inside your VNet, you have the option of VNet injection. In that case, the entire infrastructure of the API management is inside your subnet. Okay. And basically, you can access services running inside that VNet, or if you have connectivity to on-prem through Express Route or site-to-site VPN, you can do that. Same thing, you have a private endpoint available for that API management, and you can access it through that private endpoint. Okay. On the other hand, that this is only available for premium. But with standard V2, you have an option of doing VNet integration. And what does that mean? What it means is, it's very similar to app service, where you have an app service running in Azure multi-tenant environment, and you can what you do is VNet integration with a subnet. In that case, it drops a NIC, kind of virtual NIC, which you can't see inside that subnet, and that way it can communicate to the resources inside that VNet, any peered VNet, or a resource that is on-prem, where the VNet is connected to on-prem through access route, express route, or site-to-site VPN. So you see, there is a distinct difference in the injection. You have the entire infrastructure of API management inside your subnet. And in this one, it's very similar to app service VNet integration, where only a NIC is dropped. And just keep in mind, at this moment in public preview, you cannot do the private endpoint for the front end. Okay, because that is a limitation that will go away as this public preview matures, but that is a limitation for now. Okay, with that, any questions? I know there's too much stuff. Okay, I hope it's clear to everyone the difference between VNet integration and VNet injection, because that's VNet integration is available as a part of APIM standard V2, and VNet injection is available as a part of APIM premium. Okay. With that, there are some of the stuff um, that is currently limitations in the in the preview. And some of the limitation as the preview matures, they will go away. I don't want to read the slides. Please take a look at it. So let me just uh, go into the demo, and then we will come back to the slides. Okay, so here is the my resource group, and let's create an API management instance. I just want to show you the experience. Okay, so in here, I picked the Azure API Management Service. Let me increase the font size a little bit. Okay, okay. So this is my API management, and I'm gonna name it. Okay, so I'm just giving it a fictitious name, and okay. So here's the and that's where you pick it up. So you have developer, you have basic, you have standard, and then you have basic and standard. And just keep in mind, SLA is not available during preview. That's the case. It will be available once you go into GA. Okay. Then we go on to next monitoring, scale. As you can see, you can scale up to 10 instances. Okay. So that's that managed identity, very similar. This is the one I was talking about. You have now an option of virtual network. Okay. So what with that, just keep in mind it's not a VNet injection, it's a VNet integration. So you pick up your virtual network and you can assign it. And I will show it to you in a second. And then you have the protocol settings and all that. And let's let's create this. Okay. And just time it. I mean, it's right now, it says 11:14. So let's come back to it while we take a look at some other stuff. We have already have created an API management instance. It's a standard instance. So let's take a look. What is there in that instance? And these are some of the properties. What this is, it's a standard V2 instance. As you can see here, this is standard V2, it says here. And let's look at first at the um, networking. So if we go in here, API management placeholder, outbound traffic. Look, net integration, external. Right now, if you can see here, the inbound access is kind of blanked out. The reason is that at this moment in the public preview, private endpoint support is not there. Hopefully, once it come back, excuse me, then once we will be able to take a look at that. So let's do that. I mean, as you can see here, it is connected to this particular VNet and this particular subnet. So you have this is my VNet and this is my subnet. And it's one thing that is interesting, and I wanted. Oh, sorry. Quickly switching the thread. Remember, just a couple of minutes ago, we created that instance, and now this instance is there. You know how fast it is. So just takes a few minutes compared to 45 minutes, which it used to take before. So that's a pretty kind of a big improvement while when you're creating Azure API management. Okay. So just want to show it to you. This is the performance improvement. Okay, let's switch the thread back and let's go back to the virtual network. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the resource group and I'm going to show you the virtual network. So this is the virtual network and these are the two subnets. As you can see here, this subnet, APIM subnet, is dedicated to And you don't have to do that, delegate it to this particular ID. This is done automatically when you do the VNet integration. When you do the VNet integration, it will automatically attach it to the subnet. And by the way, just keep in mind, at this moment, for some reason, you have to use /26 address. In the uh, if you are doing the integration, it will mention that yes, you can use slash 26 or above, but for some reason it's kind of a bug. It seems like it insists on a /26 address. Okay, um, so that's that. And then it once it's create that VNet integration, it adds this NSG on top of it. Okay, and let's take a look at that NSG. So this is an NSG that is created by um, this is created by the API management itself when it's creating it. As you can see here, these are the routes or kind of these are the rules that it opens up. Load balancer, API management, internet. I mean, of course, if you are not doing anything, uh, inbound, you can cut it off, but this it just opens it up. And then outbound security rules, it opens up once again to storage, SQL, because I think it is communicating to those services. So it needs those things. So you don't have to add it. This is added automatically as a part of that when you do the VNet integration. Got it? So what I have done is I have an app service that is running, and that app service is running a simple um, API. Okay. And that app service, I have created a private endpoint and drop it into the same, into the, let me show you here, into this um, VNet, which is, sorry, into this subnet, which is PE subnet. So I have dropped a private endpoint there. And what I can do is now I am able to securely access from my APIM this private endpoint without going over the internet. Before, that was not possible. If you remember, a few months back, we take a look at API management private endpoint, but it's only the front end. The back end or the API or the egress endpoint, that was not private. But with this one, you can make your egress endpoint private. Basically, you can access private resources. You don't have to go over or a public IP. Okay, so let me just show you here. Any questions, folks? Okay, so we go into the resource group and we go into the API management, and these are the APIs that I have. Sorry, this is the web app. So I just want to show it to you here. If I try to access it, I cannot access it over the public internet. It's saying your access is blocked, which makes total sense because you are not accessing this service. This service is locked, all the access to it. If I go in here in networking, look at this, access restrictions are on and public access is blocked, and there is a private endpoint that is created. If we look at this private endpoint is inside this PE subnet. So everything is set there. And let's go into our API management service and APIs. This is the to-do API, which is hosted in API management service. As you can see, I mean, it should show in here as well. Look, this is the API management endpoint. And what we can do is let's test this out. Okay, so we go in here, we click on this endpoint. Let me just minimize this. And this is just a REST endpoint. We're going to make a call and see if we can access it. And yes, 200 okay, and it give you that result. Nothing, earth shattering, but to prove the point, we are able to access a private endpoint, an endpoint which is dropped inside the same VNet where API management is integrated and we're able to access that. So that's I wanted to show you. This is kind of a big thing. So three things we noticed, or I mean, there our public preview has a number of things, but the three things that we saw. Number one, the ability to scale up to 10 instances. Number two, which we just demoed, the ability for VNet integration. So API management can access service instances, API instances, which are either in the same VNet or in the peered VNet or in on-prem, given that you have site-to-site VPN or express route connectivity to on-prem. Got it? And last but not the least, you can scale up to 10 instances for both basic and standard. Okay, so these are some of the key enhancements, and of course, um, there are others that you can read about there. I have put the resources in there. So let's go back to the slide deck and look at some of the limitations. So just keep in mind um, some of the policies that are available, they are not gonna be available in the preview. These are the preview limitations. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And as the preview matures, as it moves along, you will start seeing more and more of these features coming into view. Second, availability. These are the regions which is where it is available. Just like with any public preview, normally it's not available in all the regions. I am running this public preview in the South Central region, but these are the regions where it is available, where you can go in and you can play around with it and see what what kind of evaluate it if it fits your or your customer needs. And finally, once a quick recap. Uh, so this is the key, networking piece that we were talking about, VNet injection that is supported if you are looking for both private endpoint and public endpoint, sorry, private endpoint and ingress and private egress. APIM Premium is the option, maybe the right option for you. But if you are looking at the private egress, at this moment, API standard will do it for you. It's not a VNet injected model. Once you have the private endpoint for the ingress support, it will still be a private endpoint. It will not be a VNet injected model. It's a VNet integrated model where kind of a virtual NIC is dropped into a delegated APIM subnet. So that's that. So with that, I would like to open floor for any questions, comments. Okay. So with that, if there are no other questions, comment, I will give everybody their 5 minutes back and hope to see everybody next week for another session of Azure Power Lunch and have a wonderful uh, weekend. Thank you.